Good morning, everyone. Being that it's just after 10 o'clock and I think we're good to go, we'll call this meeting to order. Happy New Year to everyone and welcome to the first meeting of the County of Newell Council for 2024. We're all here, so there's no one to be excused from the meeting. We do have the minutes of the December 21st, 2023 meeting. Are there any errors or omissions or a motion to approve the minutes as circulated? Kelly, motion to approve. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Are there any post-agenda items that anyone has to bring forward? Matt, you?
Just the one circulated earlier this morning for the Alberta Police Transition Grant Program, if we could add that.
Okay. Add that to the post-agenda items. Anything else? Seeing none, just for information, we have a public hearing at 11:30, and also the firefighters will be in at 11:45 for the long service award recognition. So those are scheduled events. If not, a motion to approve the agenda as altered. Adina?
I will make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Question period or notices of motion. Are there any questions online? Nothing? Well, nobody has a notice of motion. With that, we'll move on to item number, let's go down to 8.1. Bylaw 206. No, that's not the right one. 10.1. Shannon is with us this morning for the Provincial Education and Designated Industrial Requisition Credits. Welcome. Good morning.
Hi. So the PERC and DIRC programs allow the county to receive a credit for the education and the designated industrial requisition taxes that were levied in 2023. A requirement of the application is a motion to make the application. The other half of my request is a motion to recognize the tax balances in Appendix A as bad debt, uncollectible. There are a few roles on the application that are not included in the uncollectible list. And if I am able to collect on those, then I just notify Municipal Affairs of that adjustment.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Holly, go ahead, please.
I'll make the motion that we write off the balances and submit the application.
Thank you. Any further questions? Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Move down to item number 10.2, Councillors' Compensation and Expenses Adjustments to Meal Allowance. Welcome, Lane. I lost my internet.
This policy will bring forward
Mike.
I thought it was on. Bringing forward this policy for consideration by council. This policy actually sets the rates for meal allowances that are paid for both council members and for staff that are away on council or on county business. It's been a number of years since the actual rate for meal allowances has been reviewed. And what we're asking council to consider today is an amendment that would bring the rates more in line with what reality is. Couple of different options there for council to consider. One, I think that would make it easier and provide for adjustments in the amounts over time is to just reference an independent rate that is set by the CRA. So just up for consideration and discussion with council here this morning.
Okay, thank you, Lane. Are there any questions? There's a recommended response, but any questions with regard to that? Adina, please.
Well, I was reading this about $69 per day, $23 per meal. So if we were just claiming breakfast, then we would just claim and that would be $23, is that right? Okay.
Okay, Kelly, please.
Yeah, I like taking the recommended rate, and CRA, just for listening audience, is Canada Revenue Agency. I had to check that out because you referred to CRA quite a bit in the RFD. I like that, similar to our mileage, that it would be adjusted automatically depending on what's going on across the country. So, Reeve Dirksen, if you're ready for a motion, I would be willing to make a motion, option 1.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Question?
I just had a question that in the past, did it seem too cumbersome to actually expense the amount that you actually spent? Like you might spend $6 on breakfast, or it might cost you the 23. I guess the question is from past councillors to know if that was, did you ever do it that way?
Ellen, please, thanks for the question.
Not to my recollection. And then you always have to worry about getting your receipts in and so on and so forth. So I'm with Kelly's suggestion, or option number 1.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? That answers that satisfactorily. Ready for the motion? All in favor of going along with the recommendation as per the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, let's move to item number 10.3, the appointment of a member at large to the Recreation Board for Divisions 5 and 10. Go ahead, please, Lane. Thank you.
So the Division 5 and 10 Recreation Board members at large are considered annually by council during the organizational meeting. After the last organizational meeting, one of the members at large has submitted a resignation, and there isn't an opening for that board at this time. We have had an individual express interest in serving in that capacity. And the question before council is whether you want to just go ahead and appoint that individual. It's a Lake Newell Resort resident. The individual that retired from the board was also a Lake Newell Resort resident. The board meets once a year, usually early in the spring, and their exclusive responsibility is to allocate the annual allotment for the Division 5 and 10 Rec Board. The other alternative is to go ahead and openly recruit, invite applications for a member at large.
Okay, thank you, Lane. Are there questions? The recommendation, though, is to appoint the volunteer, I believe. Go ahead, Greg, please.
I'm ready to make that motion to appoint Julian Anacrico as the member of large for the Division 5 and 10 Rec Board to fill the vacancy.
Okay, thank you for that. Dan, you've got a question?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, you said the other option is to open it up to the public. Was this not open to public, or how did this one come about?
Well, when we know there's an opening in advance of the organizational meeting, we will place an advertisement inviting applications from individuals to serve on different boards. This one, it was Lake Newell Resort resident that had been serving. He retired, reached out to other individuals within the community, and this is what resulted from that.
Okay, thank you. Follow up, Dan, or you could, Neil, please.
Yeah, I have no problem with the person that you're suggesting, but just for the optics of this thing, isn't it better just to put the little ad in the paper and go that way so everybody has a chance?
Okay, just for comments, Holly?
When you put an ad in the paper, what is the statistical chance someone will actually apply?
There are positions that we have had open for some time that people haven't responded to. So,
Yeah, I think just in terms of the detail, this is in between the standard circumstances. So we're filling in a gap that has resulted from a resignation. So it's a little different than an annual or a, whatever the term appointment is, correct? But go ahead, Greg, please.
Yeah, so to just give a little bit of more information on this is that there is someone already at large from the Cassils area. So this would be just to fill that void for the Lake New Resort area. So it's a pretty balanced board that way.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Ready for the question? All in favor of that we appoint Julian Anacrico? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. We are up to item number 10.4, Director of Corporate Services report. Matt, please.
Yeah, so we just lost Lane, but if there are any questions about that report, we can get them back to address. While we wait, we could go on to electoral.
Let's move on to item number 10.5, which is the electoral boundary review. Go ahead, Matt, please.
Yeah, so you'll recall we had first drafts of 4 concept maps in front of council before the Christmas break. Administration received some direction to make some changes to some of those maps. We've done that. You now have maps 1A through 4A in front of you, and administration is looking for council's feedback. Did we incorporate everything, and are we in a position where we can now move on to the next phase and include these maps in our public engagement? The idea with the concept maps is not to have arrived at any individual map, but to give folks a variety of options to look at, criticize, form opinions on, and we will solicit their feedback, how they think the pie should be divided ultimately as we move towards a single concept map. So the idea would be once we have concept maps that we feel provide enough variety for people to be critical about or give them an idea what we're thinking from council and administration point of view, we'll kick those out beginning February 2nd, if you remember our terms of reference, and have a public consultation that runs for about a month. An open house will be included. We'll be posting information to the website, have a survey out there where we solicit all this information. We would, if these maps are approved today, be bringing back the public engagement plan to council that first meeting of February. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Are there questions, comments with regard to the map presentation? We have them presented in our package. Holly, go ahead, please.
Should we look at them map by map?
We can do that
Easiest way?
if you'd like to.
Yeah, just on map 1, I really thought that maybe Kinbrook Island should go with Division 5 as opposed to 1. Last meeting, Greg had brought up it's a better fit, and I think he's right on that point, and we should maybe be making at least 2 options of maps that have that available.
Thank you, Matt.
So that option is available in map 2A.
So I also looked at that and I thought, it would make more sense for that Kinbrook to be part of Division 5. But then you're looking at not having very many people left in Division 1. So it would make more sense for Scandia area to be part of Division 1, but I understand that they don't want to be separated from the rest of it. So in order to keep things more evenly as far as numbers, it makes it a little tough if we're going to keep that area towards the bottom of Division 4 in Division 4 and not Division 1.
Okay, thank you. I think Matt's comments with regard to, we have 4 different options that provide some variation. It's not about getting connected to a particular map or a couple of maps. This is about going out to public engagement, right? And recognizing that there can be changes made in response to public engagement or further direction as we go through, right? Matt, go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One of the, I expect from the feedback we receive, folks might say, well, I like Div 9 from map 4A, but I hate Div 2, so give me Div 9 from map 4A, Div 3 from map 3A, and ultimately we'll pick and choose, and if we get enough consensus, we'll arrive at the combinations that are most supported by our ratepayers.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, then Greg, then Neil, and then Ellen, please.
I'm liking 2A. I think it's cleaner borders, it's more concise, and when you look at your guidelines, your criteria, it definitely shows that in 2A. We are, there's fewest amount of changes, we're maintaining communities and neighborhoods, it's block shape. It might be a little more deviation from the population, but it's a little bit clearer and cleaner. I like that.
Okay, thank you. Greg?
Yeah, just so that there's a little additional information on this. There's 71 people that live at Kinbrook Island Park. So just if you're wondering the numbers wise, what the difference would be, putting in one division over a different division, then 71 is the number.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
Yeah, of all the maps, I think for me, 2A is a compromise that we could all live with. I could sell that one more easily than the other ones.
Okay, thank you. Ellen?
I would echo the former speakers. Exactly, map 2A seems, especially for all the criteria taken under consideration, the best map so far. But now I have a question. How many open houses are there going to be again, and are they going to be all at the office here?
Thanks, Ellen. Go ahead, Matt.
Administration will be proposing an open house held here at the county office, and I think we're leaning towards February 15th, the last half of the day. That's also a council day, so if folks wanted to hang out, you could easily do that.
Okay, thank you. Adina, please.
So 2A and 4A for Division 2, people that I spoke to not very happy about that because they live on the south side of the 535. They believe that they are part of the Tilley community. They do not want to have to go to Rolling Hills to vote. They feel they're part of Tilley. So both of those maps have Division 2 ending at the 535 instead of, let's see what this, anyways, that's just, so I would like to see less Division 2 north of the number 1 highway and more south of the 535. That's the, yeah, they just, right across from my church, they still feel that they're all part of Tilley, or Division 2.
Thank you. Okay, Holly, please.
So with the 4A map, those changes made in there, ones that I suggested because I wanted to see if we could get Patricia and Duchess in the same one. It didn't work, and I think actually for that reason, the original 4 map is better than the 4A because I think that the changes I suggested just made things a little bit more complicated than they were previously. And then that might work a little better for moving Division 2 down as well.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for council. I guess my concept of where we're going with this is not to come to a public engagement with a bias to one or the other. I think we're trying to provide options, and then we want to listen to ratepayers. And some of it, I mean, our comments are based on what we've heard from people. I understand that, and that's valuable. But I don't think that it should be our goal to try to resolve a problem that really hasn't been fully identified before we go to public engagement. Let's hear what we hear from the public, and then we're going to go through all this again at some level anyway. And I would expect that administration will provide some options based on what we hear publicly, officially, and then that'll take some of the pressure off us to try to get this fixed before it needs to be. Is that reasonable? Kelly, and then Holly, please.
Yeah, I mean, if you read the RFD, we're being asked if these maps are suitable to go for public display. And we don't have to be sold on any of the maps because we are part of the public as well. We will be able to get our thoughts into the queue and decide what is good and what is bad. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve option 1 as recommended.
By the RFD, which is a request for decision, right?
Yes.
To your point, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion. Any further comments? Holly, go ahead, please.
I just want to make sure when we started all this, we didn't want to split communities. That was really important. And if Tilly is feeling that they're being split, that map is wrong. Like, we should not be splitting any communities in our drafts because we're sending the wrong message. So I know what you're saying, but if it's your community being split, you might feel differently. So I don't want to make sure, we don't bring any, like, this didn't work last time because we split communities. So let's learn from the past and not have communities split going in, because that is going to cause us grief. And we really want this to be a smooth process where people feel we're listening and it's going to be a good process. So when I hear it's good enough, leave it, that worries me because that's what happened last time.
Okay, go ahead, Matt. Thanks, Holly.
Looking at the various maps, and administration absolutely wants to respect the feedback that has come in to date. There are a number of maps which provide Division 2 with the opportunity to surface that feedback. So map 1A goes a little further south, as well as map 3A. So there are some options there, and at the end of the day, it's within the realm of possibility that the final map includes shapes that we don't have on any of these maps, right? So if the public says, by no means is Highway 36 the right boundary, we'll take that into consideration and come back with a final concept map. And at the end of the day, the final concept map is going to be going through the formal process where we take it as a bylaw, give it 3 readings. You'll be soliciting feedback again on that final map. I think the process is robust enough that we'll end up at something that's acceptable to the large part of county ratepayers.
Okay, thank you. Just a question back for Councillor Holly Johnson. Do you agree that there are maps that address the concern that you raised with regard to splitting the Tilly community?
Yes, there are. I'm just concerned about, this didn't go well last time, and I want to make sure we're putting good maps forward, and we're not. Map 4 is split Rosemary and Dutchess as well. So I mean, are we really putting our best forward? I just want to make sure we're doing this the best we can.
Okay, thank you. Dan.
So if we don't split communities, Rolling Hills will be stuck at 590 forever. Right now, the north boundary of Rolling Hills, or Division 1, does extend into a part of the area that I would consider to be the community of Tilly. If we go a little bit further, that's what we got to do to get numbers. Maybe we got to go a little further to the west to pick up some of the community of Scandia. We're not splitting communities. We're just changing Division 1 councillor represents more people. to make it fair and equitable. And I've been a part of the Rolling Hills community for a number of years now, and I've never felt defined as a member of that community by who is my representative on council. My community, what happens in my community, that's what makes me part of that community, not who my representative is. So we're not splitting communities. If all of a sudden the map changed so that Scandia and Rolling Hills were represented by the same person, I'm still part of that Rolling Hills community. That's not changing anything. So we're not splitting communities.
Okay, thank you. Adina?
I totally agree with you. I felt the same way, but unfortunately, there's just some out there that are like, that do not see it that way. Because I feel like if you're my neighbor, you're always my neighbor. It doesn't matter where you have to vote. And as I said last time, we're no longer we don't have our own school division, so that should not be an issue. But unfortunately, there are some people who just can't see it that way, like we do.
Okay, thank you for all of that. We have a motion on the floor to accept the recommendation that we go forward with the 4 adjusted maps since our last council meeting, and that we take those to the public, recognizing fully the discussion that we've had, that there's going to be further changes potentially, and some that we haven't even maybe conceptualized yet. So, Neil?
I don't think it matters which map we take. If you take, which one is it, 4 or 1, you end up with the same thing over in Rosemary, Dutchess, Gem, Bazzano. That's a huge change out there. And I'm not totally convinced that all of our ratepayers actually care. Like 20% voted last election. Most of them don't even know who their county rep is. So maybe we're putting too much emphasis on. I agree with keeping account the communities as close as we can get them, but not everybody's going to be happy. Somebody's going to have a problem no matter which way we go.
Yeah, I think this is one of the decisions that at the end of the day we're going to have to make, and let's get ourselves ready for that. And at the same time, let's be open to what people. I mean, the public consultation is for public consultation, and we will accept the information that comes to us from there. Neil, one more.
I'm just thinking maybe we should go out with information on Newell Connect or whatever it's called, and put our thoughts out there. Like, we don't want to disrupt communities or make people feel alienated. So maybe a little PR would help.
Yeah, we can. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, and that'll be part of the engagement package that comes back before council February, that first meeting in February, to make sure we've given enough backstory to it. We're framing and asking the right questions about the map, so folks are entirely clear that you don't have to pick an entire map as your favorite. You can pick and choose pieces. So we'll be working with our communications coordinator to make sure we've communicated as best as we can.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor, ready for the question. All in favor that we move forward with the maps as presented, please indicate. That is opposed. Okay, that is carried. Thank you. Now let's move back to item number 10.4, the quarterly report from the Director of Corporate Services. Welcome back again, Lane.
Sorry for stepping out.
No worries.
So it was a fairly quiet period. Just have touched on some of the highlights. If there's any specific questions that you've got with regards to the information that was shared, I can try to elaborate on that.
Thank you. Holly, you had a question, please.
Yeah, I've just received questions on Rec Connect. So the questions I'm getting is, where is this coming from? Some concerns. It's not ratepayer driven. It's administrative driven. So people maybe aren't seeing the need as much. So maybe you could give some background on that.
Sure. So there was the Rural Municipalities Association had requested calls for applications, funding applications for initiatives that would provide economic development opportunities for rural communities. We took a look at that and thought that one thing that provides economic opportunities for communities is bringing people in from outside the community, utilizing facilities that are available within a community. An application was submitted under that program. The intention was to come up with something that is similar to Airbnb for recreation facilities that would provide for higher utilization of facilities within the county. Yes, it's fair to say that this was not something that was brought forward by the public. We identified it as a potential opportunity that could be pursued. The application was submitted, we received funding approval, and that's what's driving this particular initiative. We're hoping that communities will see the benefit that can come to them by bringing in people from outside the area and making better use of the facilities that we have. Anybody coming in is obviously going to be bringing in revenue that will offset costs that are being incurred right now and funded entirely from within the community. So we just think it's an opportunity that we should be looking at and taking advantage of.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up to that? Polly?
Can you give a bit more detail on the meeting on the 30th? Because I haven't seen it. I only heard there's a meeting and even a little bit here, but is there any more details around that?
Yes, there is an agenda that we have done up. The Rec Connect, or the introduction for the Rec Connect project is just one item that's on that agenda. We are also going to be covering off a number of other things that would be of interest to community organizations. Financial reporting. We're wanting to talk about insurance options, options that are available for them when it comes to utilities. We do participate in the RMA energy aggregation program. Not all of the community groups are participating in that, so we're going to be providing more information about that program and the potential that it has to save energy costs for those organizations as well. We're trying to make it an event that will cover off a broad range of information so that if a group isn't interested in moving ahead with the Rec Connect, there's still going to be other information available to them that will assist them in the operation of their facility. I'll circulate a copy of the agenda so that all members of council are aware of the information that's going to be covered during that meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dina, and then Neil. Pardon me, Amanda. I'm sorry, Amanda. Yeah.
Lane, will they be taking all the stats? Like, that's what some of the Duchess people were worried about was, or the Duchess area was, they're accumulating stats from this. Is that the case?
Is the question whether or not the Rec Connect is intending to just collect statistical information?
And then using that for funding or however it can be used?
Well, one of the things, if a group commits their facility to the Rec Connect initiative, there will be information collected through that will clearly tell us how often the facility is being used. That information, of course, will go into a database that will be considered when it comes to determining how much use is being made of any facility. It's not intending for us to use that to determine how much a facility might be eligible to receive in the way of funding, if that's what the question or concern is based on. There is going to be information that will come to us through this program that is in addition to what we have right now, and we're hopeful that it's going to be helpful information when it comes to figuring out how facilities are funded in the future.
Okay, thank you, Neil.
I think what Lane has proposed here is top shelf, bar nothing. for them to suggest that we're going to collect information on them, we're going to spy on them, we're going to want to look at their books. I don't really buy that. We've got, 11 halls in this area. And I'm pro-community, but I'm anti not used halls sitting all over the place. If this can even bring in 5 or 10 more events, or I don't see why anybody would do it. And it gives us, I mean, we've been over this before with the halls. You can't even get stats because it's volunteer and nobody knows for sure how many days we're there. Nobody knows for sure how many days we're paid. As a council, that's pretty irresponsible for us to keep doling out money without having some of those questions answered. And this starts to answer those questions. And I'm not out to shut down the halls, just to get more business.
I think there's some other issues that maybe we're aware of, I'm sure, but I'm not sure that they've kind of surfaced yet. Go ahead, Adina, I have a comment after that.
Well, I think it's important to think about, we have become a society where people want to do more stuff online. I can book, a massage online. I can book a haircut online. So this is something, you see it sometimes on social media. How do I get a hold of somebody at the hall? It's not that they've even tried the hall. It's just that they want to go online and just do it. So I think it's kind of something that our society is working towards. People would rather just book it on their phone than to actually have to phone somebody and talk to them. So, it's not a matter of tracking people, because you're still going to be booking stuff face to face. But as we go along, people are more likely to use this than to actually use it like this. They just want to book it. So I can see in the future this being really popular.
Okay, thank you. I think those are all reasonable comments. I think that one of the things that is going to create some pushback on this, or that maybe hasn't been fully considered, is the cost of using these facilities. Is it a profitable thing? A lot of the fee structures on some of our community halls is pretty low, and to have people from outside the community, I mean, those need to be reviewed, I would say, for some of them, and I'm not speaking across the board. I just expect that some of the fee structures for some of our community facilities is quite below cost of production or cost of reasonable return on investment or anything like that. And if we're going to make it available on the internet across a larger community, I mean, to the world, there's going to have to be a review on who's cleaning up afterwards, what the costs are. They're probably going to have to review the cost structure, because I know of at least some of them are basically there to serve the local community, and the volunteers work hard to keep the costs down. There's no interest in that or limited interest in that if it's going to be mostly outside groups coming to use the facilities. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think we're going to have to deal with some of that, at least community by community. I'm not sure, but I expect that will be one of the things that will cause concern as we go to public use. Go ahead, Lane, please.
During the meeting that we have with the groups on the 30th of January, we do have a time set aside for information sharing, where the groups are able to talk about what has worked well for them, where they have struggles. The whole idea is to exchange information between groups. We are not proposing that in committing to this initiative that groups are going to have to change their rate schedule. That may be something that should be discussed, but we're not wanting to dictate what a group is going to rent their facility for. It's business as usual for them. It's just opening up their facility for use by others from outside the community that are looking for a facility that meets a specific criteria, of which their facility may meet that, and it just makes it more accessible to them. That's the primary message that we want to get across with this.
Thanks, Lane, and I think that presents a pretty good opportunity for everyone, recognizing that there will be response to some of that, but that's what we're asking for, and so I think that's good, because on a whole range of activities, public knowledge or a broader circulation of opportunities for activities or facilities could be a good thing. We just, and I expect we'll hear from communities with regard to how they feel about that, and that's a positive thing. And I think if we go forward with an open mind to say, how do we make this work for communities, it can work. I think it's a good thing potentially. Kelly?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that conversation that Bazzano has had a 2 fee schedule for years.
Okay.
We did get it approved that Division 6 people would be included in the Bazzano core rates, but anybody outside Division 6, I believe, has an out of area rate. So it is possible, and it has been operating that way for, I'm going to say, 20 years in Bazzano. Just FYI.
Okay, I think that's good information and a good opportunity to have a cross-community discussion on what's working, what isn't, and what we need to think about going forward with this potential opportunity. So that's good. Thanks. Lane, is there a action we need to take on this? I think it's a quarterly report.
No,
right?
unless there's any other questions related to the item or the information that's in the report.
Sure. Thanks, Lane. Appreciate that. Okay. We are down to item number 10.6, correct? Rural Municipalities of Alberta 2024 Spring Convention. Ariana, please.
Hello. Yeah, so it's that time of year again to start talking about the RMA. All of the registration details are available. Hotels have been booked for the dates. There are 2 EOEP courses, but according to my records, only 2 of you haven't taken one of the courses, so you just need to figure that out. And then you can decide which ministers you'd like to meet with. We got an email from Municipal Affairs. They have a deadline. They'd like requests to be submitted by January 26th with your discussion topics, of course. So yeah, I guess I'm looking for, you can email me later if you're not planning on attending the RMA. If the 2 of you want to take one of the EOP courses, we'll make the adjustments. And then today mostly is determining what meetings with ministers you'd like and the topics for those meetings.
Okay, thanks, Ariana. Do we have suggestions for meetings with ministers? Holly, go ahead, please.
I thought maybe Dreeshen. We've talked about overall transportation plan for the south, or the transportation plan for the 36 Tabor Brooks corridor, if it's a twinning or passing lanes. Committed money for maintenance and crack sealing on the highways, and then maybe put a plug in for Highway 873 resurfacing as well.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
Yeah, those are good ones. Being that I think I sent most of you all those articles that are coming up about water, opening up the Water Act in 2024. They've been in Medicine Hat News, Lethbridge Herald, Calgary Herald, Edmonton Journal, all hinting that this is going to happen. In my mind, that water license, which you've heard me say before, is extremely important. The most important thing in this county. And yeah, I'd like to, I'm not sure even which minister, like irrigation or whatever, if we can, they already know what's going on, but to reinforce, or maybe a different minister, I don't know. What do you guys think? But that's a topic
Agriculture and
that's...
environment, maybe? Both agriculture and environment? Irrigation is under agriculture. Environment is certainly going to be front and center with regard to water considerations. So I would say that both of them would be reasonable.
Well, if we don't keep on that license and keep the political pressure up, instead of daydreaming about expansion, which we all do, we'll be fighting to save what we've already got. the river is over allocated. That's coming out. They're finally starting to realize it after 20 years being told. So yeah, what environment, agriculture, the premier, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. And probably all of the above. I think the meeting we had, if we're going up there, our MLA and the premier, we should request. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay, Neil.
Yeah, this is probably the time too with that. I'm not sure how many of you are going to that AIDA conference. I'll be getting my hip done at that time. So I'm out, but we really do need representation up there to support these guys and show that we're in the game here strong. So hopefully a couple more of you can maybe show up, or else, well, Holly can do it all herself too, so.
Okay, we'll take the ministers' meetings first. Is that kind of got us covered? Holly?
Is there any merit in meeting with Mike Ellis about fire equipment standards and the timing of that? I mean, that's peace emergency. Does it fall under him, or I don't know who that would be? We've talked about it.
I think that's something we could consider for sure. I'm not sure which ministry it would fall under, but that would be a reasonable thing, I think. Lynette, please.
We had talked about it before. I'm not sure if we wrote a letter or what, but like our peace officer taking so many weeks to get his appointment and stuff like that to make sure that, okay, yeah, Mike Ellis, I guess, to mention to him.
Okay. Holly?
Sorry, lastly, I mean, Danielle Smith, I've heard has made note about agriculture being under attack. Is there anything we need to do proactively, or her government's really good with that? And she needs to bring up to Sigurdsson about that, or to her in terms of like, New Zealand has a methane tax. Need to start working against that now to protect our agricultural industry, or where are we at?
I think one of the things that we will discuss later on is what we can do to push back on a number of mandate initiatives that are going to threaten rural and remote communities most particularly. So we will, all of those things could be raised as they surface for us. So I think that's a good consideration. Okay, are we good? I think, is there anything else under the CDC South? I mean, hopefully by then we're well on our way. Infrastructure should be moving by then, I would think. So.
And we're not, we'll tackle the ministers so you can come in for their position.
Yeah. Yeah, I think by then we should see some advancement on what we're, and if we need to ask for some additional meetings as the day gets closer, we might have to do that. Go ahead, Kelly.
My question was, when does the budget come out? Because I do have questions around Alberta Health, the Bazzano Health Center. So I'm just wondering when the budget comes.
I don't know that we have the date. There may be one online
I just Googled
somewhere.
it and I couldn't find it.
Typically in February, but that's not necessarily the case. Yeah.
Not always, no.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of a wait and see thing. They're in there renovating right now.
Bazzano Hospital?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Staff doesn't seem to know about what they're doing. They were told that it's going to take until May, and they started last week, so 5 months. And they don't know exactly what's going to be affected, or sounds like it's HVAC stuff. That's what I got out of one LPN. But yeah, it's the information is not there as to what they're doing and how much they're spending.
Okay, we should, I mean, are you raising a concern that we should try to get some answers to, I suppose?
Well, yeah, how, I guess, would the Palliser Triangle know? What is, maybe I could inquire there.
We should do that, I would think, and then take it up the totem, go as high as we need to on it.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
So you're going to follow that up with administration, or will?
Between, I'll start at Palliser Triangle then.
Yeah.
And see if I can get any answers,
Yeah.
and if not, then we'll see what's in the budget too. I mean, that's gonna be all telling, right?
Hopefully. Okay, we're good to go on that. Where are we at now? We're on. You're good with what our discussion has been, Ariana?
Yeah, I think so. I heard nothing about meeting with Municipal Affairs, who had the specific deadline at this time, and I'll bring this back to future council meetings with updates, and you can add stuff then. It's just good to get your request in early.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Thank you. Okay, 10.7, Councillor payment sheets. That is there. What needs to be discussed, or is there a decision required there other than a motion of acceptance of the councillor payment sheets? Someone make that motion. Lynette, motion to approve councillor payment sheets as presented. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Requests for functions of council, item number 10.8. Seeing none, we'll move on. Municipal services business. Mr. Mark Hardbrink, welcome. Item number 11.1.
Happy New Year, everyone. Great to be back in front of you. It's a great break from Christmas, and the weather was more welcoming over Christmas than what it is today. So, December's report, very short. As we know, we had office closure through Christmas break and whatnot. And with the weather being so awesome for that period of time, it's really business as usual for most everything. Outdoor activities, really conducive to getting some road grading done to try to control washboard due to the dryness of roads and whatnot. So continued to do that as best as our staff could do for our residents and motorists. And otherwise, tree cutting program, got a lot of stockpiling program done as well, just because the weather allowed us to do so. So really, that's December. Couldn't have asked for better weather to really make progress on a lot of things that sometimes the winter weather hinders. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the municipal director's report, please. Holly, all in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Seeing that we have a few empty chairs around the table, should we take 5? Pardon me? Let's take 5. Are you good with that, Terry? We'll come. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll be back at just before 11. Let's reconvene. Terry, please.
Thank you. Just here to go through a couple of RFDs for purchasing equipment. This equipment already has been approved in our 2024 interim budget. As per policy, though, if it's over the amount of $350,000, we have to have council approve it. So I'll go through the two of them here. The first one is the motor grader replacement. We're looking at replacing or purchasing two motor graders, $656,000 and $250 each. We currently have three older machines that are pushing our limit on there. They're currently between 9 and 10 years old and between 8 and 10,000 hours on them. So with these two additional machines we bring in, we'll have all 8 of our machines new and ready for grading. So I got 2 quotes, pretty much one from Finning for our 150, so identical to the 6 machines we purchased this year, or arrived this year, and then from Brand, so an 870 GP, pretty much all the same size, fairly close in price, but the cats were a little bit less. These machines come with our Tier 4 engines, which is a challenge because they actually run DF in them now, so a little bit of remote challenges there too. 16-foot moldboard, our snow wing, UV plow, and of course we put the auto greasers on them. So the machines we have are beautiful, they're awesome. I smile every time I see them. So anyway, they're cool. So anyway, just looking for council to approve the purchase of these 2 machines for $1,250,886.
Thank you. Questions? Greg, please.
Those CAT 150s, are they, now that they have them and we were using them, sufficient for what we need? Because we were running larger machines before, is that correct? And the 150s, they're a smaller wheel, right? Would that be correct? And something say the EID is running. For what we use them for, it's sufficient for what we need.
Yeah, they're good. They're actually really similar to the same size of what we've been using for the last 10 years, right? I mean, 10, 15 years ago, we're running the next class bigger, but for what we do for regular road grading, they're perfect, right? So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or a motion to provide direction with regard? Go ahead, Lynette, please.
I'd like to make the motion to keep Terry smiling.
Okay. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
I want to see that in the minutes.
Yeah. More specific. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so our next one is to replace one of our gravel trucks / plow trucks. Our policy on this one is quite similar. These gravel trucks, when they get close to 10 years old, they typically have about 500,000 miles on them, or kilometers on them, and about 10,000 hours. So we do have one of our units that is due for replacement this year. There again, too, similar process. There's two companies that make these plow trucks, Tenco and Viking. The quotes there came in very close, within $1,000. I suggested we go with the Viking one. It is $1,000 more, but all our trucks in our fleet are made by the same manufacturer, so it's nice because we don't have to carry anything. All the stuff that we carry will be all the same, like oil filters, fuel filters, blades, replacement parts and stuff like that too. So again, these trucks, since we've changed them over to stainless steel, we got kind of a really similar design on them. They're good for staff because they're all the same. There again too, they do make me smile. Although when we have to use them, it's snowing out, so not much of a snowing opportunity. So same thing too, priced it all out there. Just here again, just looking for council to award the purchase of a plow truck from Viking Chives for $493,904. Hopefully we get delivery this year.
Thanks, Terry. Any questions or a motion for direction? Dan, please.
Ooh, saved it. Yeah, there's a lot of value in having everything the same like that, so I'll make that motion to approve it with option number 1.
As recommended. Okay, all in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Terry. Okay, item number 10.3, no, 10.4, right? 11.4, I'm sorry, yeah.
Glasses are on top of your head. Sorry.
Where's that, yeah?
My mom says you're not wearing a tie today neither.
I thought about that this morning, but I didn't bring it with me, so.
A little bit of a different one here for council today. We have dealt with council in the past with Canadian Pacific Railway crossings. 2 crossings were improved last year out in the Latham area. With that, I got notice in November that they're looking at doing 2 crossing improvements in Cassils. With that, I see that through board orders between the municipal government, CP Rail, these things have been set in time for a very, very long period of time, dating back to the 50s and 60s and things. The west crossing on Range Road 15-5 in Cassils is really the primary crossing of railway tracks in that area. It has a board order attached to it, and the costs are assigned through that board order, and that's what the county is bound to. The east crossing, Range Road 15-4, is not subject to a board order. However, CPKC staff have asked if there would be interest from the county to cost share that to get it to a concrete crossing rather than wood timbers. What I can share with council is anything that has wood timber crossing has been a ratepayer concern expressed to us on a regular basis for the motoring public. CP Rail maintains those crossings as they inspect them, as they determine improvements are warranted and stuff. Moving to a concrete crossing, it is more expensive, but the life expectancy behind it pays dividends for both parties. And with that, they asked if there would be some kind of cost-sharing arrangement to move Range Road 15-4 to a concrete crossing as well. Looking at the history of what we have done with them, we, being the County of Newell taxpayers, again, are not bound to being billable for any improvements at that crossing, so it could be 100% them. It's anticipated that if the costs, if we don't offer some kind of cost-sharing arrangement, it'll probably stay a timber crossing. And there are 3 sets of tracks in that area, so one set fails in the middle or whatever, it's just kind of a nightmare to get across those things. I'm proposing to council that you consider a 50% cost share on Range Road 15-4 as well. So I'm actually going to look for 2 motions from council. The first one being to accept the estimated costs for the crossing of Range Road 15-5 and what they need to do there, subject to the board order and the proportionate fee that the county is expected to. And then a second motion for Range Road 15-4, where I'm proposing a one-time 50% of the estimated costs be borne by the county to get that improved to be a concrete crossing. The benefit moving to concrete crossings, I've included some pictures and stuff in the request for decision for you. With that, we went through an initiative of paving those crossings to keep our motor graders and motorists safer. Problem with the motor graders maintaining a gravel surfaced road around the tracks is you got about 20 feet of equipment ahead of that grader blade that overhangs those tracks when performing road maintenance. If we can get them paved, we don't have any maintenance activities that need to take place like that other than maintaining asphalt. What we've discovered is asphalt and the wood timbers don't mix, and in some of those photos you'll see up to a foot gap where the asphalt is, we're assuming it's due to vibration of the railway tracks, movement in the timbers and stuff, is falling away, and we have to go in and fill those on a regular basis. Concrete, we're not experiencing that whatsoever. So there is benefit to all of that. Safety of our staff, safety of the motorists, and we can get those railway crossings paved, and that's part of CP Rail's plan as well with these costs. So I wish I had more drawings and stuff as to the actual scope of what they're proposing, but they do have their estimated costs here, and if we can move forward with that, that'd be great, because they need to lock in their prices with their suppliers.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Just for clarification, we have, you're asking for a second motion, one that isn't in our package, is that correct?
I think it's best
Matt?
if you do two motions for me. One being for option 1 with the funding for Range Road 15.5. One for option 2, which is the one-time funding for Range Road 15.4. Or your third option would be is that you really don't accept any of it and improvements don't happen. But
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Matt, you had a...
Yeah, just to confuse the matter further, option 1 does have, if council's amenable to both those projects moving, you could move option 1, which does have both projects included in it. If you want to just move forward with the individual option 2 rejects the cost sharing improvements for that second crossing without the board order.
Okay, are there further questions, Greg?
Yeah, a couple questions. Does cementing cementing over the timber, does that benefit the CPK at all? Does it benefit them also?
yeah, it's not cementing like the cement will replace the timbers. It's not putting concrete over the timbers. It is concrete panels. That reduces their maintenance and coming back for activities moving forward as well. And wherever there's a board order that we're on the hook, county taxpayers on the hook for 50% maintenance, we get all of those costs too. Every time they replace timbers, it's whatever the cost share is, or at times it's 100%. So anything we can do to alleviate those intermediate fixes and repairs and stuff helps, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Okay, sounds good. And for the 15.4, is a 50-50% reasonable, or is it something that benefits that much that it's a 50-50? Would it benefit more the CPK? And also, is CPK, do we have a good working relationship with them? Do we get sometimes concessions and things from them? Because this is a sizable amount of money, and it helps them. Do we get that also?
Mark, go ahead.
I think we have a good working relationship. I'm not so sure that that the arrangement is as what we experience with others like the EID and whatnot. You kind of got to remember that this is a little bit of a federal beast behind things, and there's a lot of paperwork and things that are in writing, and there's not a whole lot that flexes to that. One thing that came to my attention November of last year also was an increase in rates for the flasher contracts. So anything that has the lights, the audible measures, and the control arms, when the federal government says that railways can now charge more for those crossing agreements, which is a monthly fee to the municipality, they just changed the rates. There's no notification process or things like that. And so we went from $2,500 a month to $3,100 a month for the crossings that we have that apply to that. I was a little bit discouraged. There was no previous communication, no awareness or alert, because we work on budgets. They kind of work on budgets too, but when you get to charge more, you just implement the fee and do it without notification, and that's not really how we conduct business, because if we're going to change fees, we advertise and people get to have a say. So I think we have a good working relationship, but I think there are things beyond that aren't really controllable either. So
Okay, unique to the national circumstance, I suppose, is what you're saying. Lynette, you had a question, or?
Just a couple questions. The time frame of how long the concrete lasts as opposed to the wood, I was just curious on, as well as on 15.4, if we say no to the 50-50, does that mean nothing gets done, or they just repair the wood that's there and carry on as usual?
yeah, concrete to wood timbers, I'll say that really the wood timber crossing is based on traffic volumes as to how long things are going to last and degradation, deterioration. I don't know how long a timber is expected to last in their books. I don't have any records or knowledge on that. Concrete, 20 years, I hope, as long as there's not a whole lot of salts and sands and things that go down to impact those sorts of things. That'd be my expectation at very least. And I think if you don't go with some kind of offer on Range Road 15-4 crossing, you'll see it replaced as timber crossings. And the one thing that I would urge you with that, the Range Road 15-4 crossing has a residential subdivision along the south boundary of it that there are numerous trips by motorists every day made by. So.
Okay, I think we have a recommendation based on the expertise of our administration, and I think that basically the impact on this is going to be our ratepayers. Those trains will go through regardless of what the crossing looks like. So this basically will serve our ratepayers over hopefully a longer period of time with less interruption. So someone ready to make a motion? I think option 1 is the one that encapsulates what you've recommended. Kelly, please.
Yeah, I just had a question around the agreement. So we went from an agreement with CP Rail, which is federal corporation. Now it's called CP Kansas City. Does that mean it's an American?
No, CP Rail purchased Kansas City mid last year. I'm not sure when all the paperwork changed, but definitely their email changed.
So
around
just
November.
their title changed and
Yeah.
the business name changed.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's where if you see any trains passing through the region, there'll often be a CP engine and a Kansas City engine tied together.
I haven't noticed. I'm ready to make that motion as recommended.
Option 1, thank you. Okay, thanks, Kelly. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
Not up on my train info items.
No. Thank you, Mark and Terry. We are post-agenda items. Matt, you.
All right, I will take this one and do my best to speak to it. At Joint Services Committee on Tuesday this week, the topic, which has been bantered around a little bit, about submitting an application to the Police Transition Grant Program was discussed, and a motion was made and supported that the County of Newell take the reins as managing partner and apply to the Alberta Indigenous and Municipal Police Transition Grant Program in support of a policing and community safety model feasibility study, which is a mouthful. But before administration does that, we actually need council to approve moving forward in that direction. I did circulate early this morning in an email some background information. Ariana, thanks to Ariana for attaching this in the agenda. What's the grant and the study gonna look at? So we anticipate applying as a region should free up some additional grant dollars for this project. And really, you're looking at a feasibility study for what would a local self-administered police service or a regional police model look like for the Brooks-Newell region. This is not committing to a course of action. It is asking the questions, compiling the data. What does that look like? I believe the city of Brooks spends around $6 million on their RCMP contract. The county is now spending just about $1 million on policing services, and I have yet to have had a conversation with this council that actually directs the police service. So you spend $1 million and you don't have really any input into what boots on the ground do from day to day. The grant and the study are not saying you're dissatisfied with level of service from the RCMP, but there are some signals that the province is sending, and there's some signals the federal government has been sending for quite a number of years, that they're maybe not interested in the RCMP maintaining community policing as a service line that they maintain. So that's kind of where we're at. Is there support from council for your administrative team to lead the charge? We would be looking for letters of support coming from each of the municipalities in the region before we submit the application. And then if there is support, we'd apply. We're optimistic the funding would be supplied, and we'd kick out to market and look for a consultant who can engage and execute the study. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Are there questions for those of us who attended joint services? There was a discussion there with representatives from the other municipalities, but all of the municipalities will make their own decision about that. But the indication is that they're on board to go ahead with this. So, Lynette, please.
Is there a time frame for getting this put in? Because when something shows up on my computer the morning of, I don't have time to read it before this meeting. I would love to put this off so it could actually be looked at.
Okay, Matt, you vote.
There's no urgency from administration on a decision needing to be made today. So there isn't a grant deadline that we're rushing to get to.
I think this just kind of flows out of the discussions that have been had. Where did we talk about it as a group? Probably at RMA, but also December 16th, it was discussed with all of the municipalities in the group, and I think they've just simply suggested that the county take a lead on it, which I'm comfortable with, but we can put off the decision on this if council prefers to do that. It is just a matter of taking a lead on getting the study done, assuming that the other municipalities come to the table. Neil, and then Ellen, please.
Yeah, I was against this joint services too. The only thing I don't like about it is the province dreamt up this policing thing. We saw it at RMA where the whole room stood up against this. So they provide a grant so we can hire their consultant to convince us that their thinking is right. I just don't like the combination of the two. And I wouldn't pay for this survey or vote to pay for it if we dreamt it up, because it's 10 years down the road before there's any changes coming anyways. So, I mean, policing's important and all that, but I think this is just following along what the government has in mind. They don't like the RCMP because they're working for the Liberals in Ottawa or whatever. It just doesn't taste right to me.
Okay, Greg, please.
I don't really agree with Neil on that. I think that it is important for us to at least get information. I don't think we can form any opinion on policing until we have all the information. I know that we have been approached from the RCMP, the union, with information, and that's a pretty one-sided approach. And if it's true that the federal government is looking at change even 10 years down the road, I think it's important for us to get on top of this, get in front of it, and get information, whether to do it or not. I think it's impossible for us to make a valued opinion of this until we have information. So if the government is willing to provide a grant for this, I don't see any reason why we would hold off on it.
Okay, thanks. Ellen and then Kelly, sorry.
Now, the county is not going to be out any. This is all going to be funded by the grant, is it?
Matt, please.
You will be out the cost of staff time, likely. I'm not entirely clear if the grant will cover the cost of your staff managing the project. it will cover the costs of any consultant who is hired to do the study, complete the study.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
I just wanted to add that as Grand Prairie area have signed on to this, and they're actually moving forward. Tabor has ran their own police service for years, and there's a reason for that. So seek out information. It's out there. This isn't brand new, and see what you can learn about it. I'm in favor of this study. I think that I've been on meetings where there are changes coming to the RCMP contract that's up in 2032, I believe. I think this is doing our due diligence and maybe being ahead of the game, because if we hear back what I think we may hear back, we can get our police service going before 2032, but that's down the road and long after my being here.
Thank you, and I think that, frankly, I think that moving ahead with this and us taking the lead on it with our municipalities speaks to a lot of the concerns I've heard in the room, because I think back to the first discussion of this at my first RMA, there wasn't enough information to make an informed decision, and there still isn't, and I think the current government recognizes that, and this is an opportunity for us to make an unbiased assessment of where we think things are going. And we're not locked into this isn't 10 years down the road necessarily. We just know that the current contract comes up in 10 years. As was indicated, town of Grand Prairie is going ahead with municipal or regional police services on their own, but that's a different topic almost, because this isn't about making a decision. This is about gaining information so that when we make a decision, it's based on good information, not political spin, let's say. Dan, go ahead.
I don't mind getting information. We need to get right information to make decisions. But some of the information that we're going to need is what's not working, what's broken. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So let's see a report on where the deficiencies are with the RCMP right now, not on speculation on what may or may not happen 10 years down the road. We need to be prepared for the future. I agree with that 100%. What are you saying is going to happen? And it's rumor. We don't know. I think this is 100% a political move. The province wanted a provincial police force. We said we don't want it. They're finding a way to get us to say we actually want it, and they're getting us to pay for it. No, I'm not on board with this at all. I'm on the exact same page as Neil. This is nonsense, and I want no part of it. And I don't want to make a vote on it until I've had a chance to talk to my ratepayers about this. Maybe they are completely on board with this, and maybe I'm out to lunch. But yeah, as it sits right now, I don't want to place my vote.
Okay, Greg, please.
I don't think this is a study on provincial policing. This is a study on policing in our region. So this is totally aside from any kind of provincial talk, policing talk, because I'm not convinced I haven't seen any information on the provincial plan, and I'm not really for that. But this is a regional thing. This doesn't have anything to do with the provincial. This is a grant to be able to get some information.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Holly?
Yeah, I just think some people are thinking it's going too far. It is simply a grant to explore the idea. It's no decisions are being made. We're not spending any money. We're just looking at options. And with potentially policing services ending in 8 years, 8 years goes by pretty fast. And I think it's a good start to look at this. We'll see what the outcome is, but I don't see any downside to pursuing this as a grant and explore the idea.
I would tend to agree with you, but unless there's a motion with regard to this immediately, we're going to table this till the next meeting. Go ahead, Holly.
I will make a motion that we pursue the grant.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please indicate. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed. Okay, that is carried. Thank you. It being 11:30, I'm going to suggest that we move to our scheduled public hearing, item number, computer's slow here. 7.1. So I look for a motion that we move into a public hearing. Lynette, please. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Welcome, Maria. Give us background, please.
Thank you. This is a public hearing for a road closure and lease application for lands that are in Division 2, southeast of the city of Brooks, northwest of Tilly. All parcels in the area are zoned agriculture. The applicant has installed a pivot between the east half of 8 and the west half of 9, 1813, and is irrigating over the road allowance. The road closure will not impact legal access to any of the adjacent lands to the proposed road closure. Approval to proceed was given by council on November 23rd. This application was circulated to adjacent landowners and required referrals. There were no concerns or comments received from any of the mailouts. That's it.
Thank you. And we are in a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes from the public to make a presentation with regard to this road closure proposal? Or anything online? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to move out of public hearing. Adina, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion to move out of our public hearing, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. And
8.1, first reading.
yes, right. Thank you. 8.1. Sorry. Bylaw 2065-24, proposed road closure, first reading. Go ahead.
I guess now that the public hearing has been closed, it would be recommended by staff that first reading be given of this road closure, bylaw 2065-24, and then the application be sent to Alberta Transportation.
Right, thank you. Someone prepared to make that motion? Adina, please.
I will make that motion and give it first reading.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Neil, please.
Is this the one where we have a little issue with a few acres that maybe should have a little bit higher rent paid on them?
Go ahead, Maria.
I maybe don't have an exact answer to that question, but I did review the packages that have been sent to Alberta Transportation already. So we have 3 packages that are in the minister's hands. The longest one, I guess, has been waiting since April. So there is a significant amount of time between this discussion, first reading, then second reading needs to happen after Alberta Transportation gives their approval. So if rates change between now and then, there's a lot of time for that to happen, for council to discuss that.
Okay, thank you. Greg, please.
I just want to confirm that pivot point, it's not on the road allowance, is that correct?
Go ahead, Maria.
This, it's hard to see, but where my mouse is, looks like that's the pivot point right there. And then this is the end of the steel here. So it's not right on the road allowance.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Any further questions or ready for the question? All in favor that we approve first reading, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Yeah. Probably get through the information I any questions.
Yeah, let's move on to, item number 12. No, we've done post-agenda items, information items. We have a number of items presented for information. Are there any questions or comments that are that we want to consider with regard to information items? Holly, please.
I just wanted Matt's opinion on what he thought of the LGFF numbers that have come out.
Well, as a rural municipality, I would have liked to have seen the equation favor kilometers of roads more than number of people. So I think it was a win for the urban municipalities in the province. Yeah, time will tell. And then it's always interesting when the province guarantees municipalities a funding envelope, because that's what MSI was intended to do. And the guarantee never flowed at the amounts and per the timelines originally promised. So I've always been of the opinion you should wait and receive allocations before you commit your grant funding, because you can never quite bank on what the province is going to do from one year to the next with the roller coaster that we experience in the province, being on the resource revenue roller coaster. So there's at least an expectation. I really like the idea that we know in advance what we can plan on, so it should improve our ability to plan. And I also like the feature of the dollars will follow the prosperity of the province, so that's automatically built in.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to suggest we take a recess till Dan, go ahead.
Just on that letter from the Municipal Affairs Minister about the oil and gas taxes, is that anything new, or is that pretty much what we have been hearing all along?
Go ahead, Matt, please.
Yeah, this is unfortunately is what we've been hearing all along. I think we kind of had a faint hope that they might restore the well drilling tax, because there is demands on our road infrastructure when the drillers come into town. We're always really happy to see those sticks in the air lit up and activity, because it means jobs in the region and folks are out doing productive things. We're not going to see the return, according to this letter, of those well drilling taxes. And on average, just to put it in perspective, on average, we were bringing in around $700,000 a year on well drilling tax. And I mean, that ebbs and flows, but $700,000 goes part of the way to satisfying, a $900,000 police cost bill that we get from the province. So it's been really interesting over time to see the province download costs, download responsibilities onto municipalities. We're having conversations that I think councils 20 years ago never would have imagined you were going to have to consider. So the policing grant being one. If the province did not download $1 million price tag to rural municipalities, you probably would not be on the docket for consideration. That maybe we need to do something different about policing, which we have absolutely no say into. We have no local governance over. Well, now that you're paying $1 million and you'd like to see a timely response on some things, you're getting pulled into it. So no, this is kind of status quo. It is slow coming. The assessment model review, this predates this council's time. So hopefully they get after it. They update it based on rational, objective information and not just the ebbs and flows of the economy. So this will be one to watch.
Is it in order to suggest that we do request a meeting with the Municipal Affairs Minister to discuss this issue? They don't hear about it unless we bring it forward. I think that's what we're here for. So I would suggest that we add the Municipal Affairs Minister to this to our request for meetings, and we'll come prepared to speak to it. Fair enough? Agreed? Okay. Kelly, please.
Totally different topic, question.
Sure.
So I'm wondering where we're at with our upgrade on communications. I'd like to, I've heard from ratepayers who tune in and they don't see what they used to see. They can't see how council votes, for example, apparently. And I know that for a fact because I went back to look. You saw my question. I asked how the vote went because I don't look around when people vote. And I have people ask me, well, how did this go down? And I said, I don't know because I can't go back and look on YouTube. So have we fixed up our picture that goes out to the public yet?
Go ahead, Matt. Thank you.
Well, I am definitely not the expert on how the system zooms in, but when you queue up your mic, I'm not sure who's showing up online right now because we have 3 mics that are live. So if you don't manage your mic, I'm not sure which camera's on who because we have 4. So that's a little bit of camera work. I would suggest it does not matter which way an individual councillor voted unless somebody calls for a recorded vote. Under the MGA, majority rules. And if the motion passed, then that's really all that matters. If folks want to take it up with their individual councillor, they can have that opportunity. I don't know, Catherine, if you have anything to add in terms of the camera work.
Yeah, so if somebody's mic is on, the camera is on that person. Everybody's camera would have to be off. It would zoom out, but unfortunately can only zoom so far, and our 2 end councillors aren't in that final zoom. So I'm not sure that would really help either. And it just requires me to madly be turning off mics while people's hands are going up. So
then that's a setback because our public used to be able to see how we voted. And I get your point, and I support the final decision. Don't get me wrong. It's when a ratepayer asks me how people voted, who they can talk to about the it's their business why they want to know, really. So I take a little bit of disregard to that comment. Ratepayers have a right to this public information. We've spent an additional $40,000 in the past budget year for an upgraded system. Why don't we have it?
Go ahead. Matt, please, and the camera's probably on me.
If it is important to council that what is shown in the live feed is the entire horseshoe and not a zoom in of individuals speaking, we could pursue that. It would be at a cost. That was never a prerequisite of the design of the system. So when we approached Matrix, who did the installation, we did not direct them that you need to zoom out and that is what we want playing. If that's what council would prefer, we can reposition the cameras and just have the horseshoe. But we have never received that direction to only show the horseshoe. And I'm not sure if that's what I'm hearing, if you only want to show the horseshoe.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Neil?
Being that I'm going to say 95, 96, 97% of our motions are consensus, what would be wrong with Arno just reading out the negative votes every couple of weeks? Because it doesn't come along very often, other than going to all the trouble of installing new cameras. And as long as they're out there and people know how they voted, why do they have to look at it?
Well, I think the bigger issue is that when council makes a decision, it's a decision. The fact that everybody voted in favor of it is in many respects irrelevant unless it was a recorded vote.
Roberta's going to take the chair.
Roberta, you've got some information for us? relative to what?
You guys are firing me up this morning.
Okay.
So there is voting software that we have not yet implemented. And once that's implemented, what it does is on your microphone, you'll be able to vote. And you can vote yay or nay, I think is the correct terms. And that would be displayed on the screen. And everybody will see the results of the vote. So once we implement that, it will be available for the public to see online. And you do have options of settings with the camera. If you guys remember before Christmas, I said, oh, I can't see you guys. I can just see who's speaking. And then the view changed, and then I could see the whole horseshoe. So we can change the views depending on feedback at council. There's still some work to do. We got to just figure out how we want it to display. So it's really nice when you bring back feedback, because that can help us to improve it for everybody. So that's great.
Because I have ratepayers 60 kilometers out, so it makes perfect sense if they have time, but they're not being able to participate fully in the process, right? So thank you for that. That's awesome.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
And I would suggest we have communication, council communication, of which this fits right under that umbrella, on the agenda for committee of the whole on Monday. So that's a good spot to raise any other issues, concerns, and we can get after it.
Okay, thank you. Technology is serving us differently than it used to, and I think mostly that's good. Thanks, Roberta. It's just past 11:45. One of the really good things that we are allowed to do, or that we do every year, is acknowledge long service awards for our fire and emergency services service. And today is that day for us, which is good. It's good to see a good number of people have come in to join us, firefighters and some of your families. Welcome this morning. I'll turn the time over to Stuart Luches, who has prepared for this as well. Please, Stuart.
Perfect. Thank you, Reeve, and good morning, Reeve and Council. Today I come to you to recognize some extraordinary individuals within the County of Newell. The demands of the fire service continues to increase year after year. There are more emergency incidents occurring every year. This means more commitment to our volunteer firefighters to certify and to stay current with the necessary NFPA training and techniques. These extraordinary people will take the time away from their loved ones and risk losing daily income to assist to keep their communities and the County of Newell safe. These firefighters don't do it for recognition. They don't do it for pay. They do it to hopefully make a difference. They do it to those people that are having their worst day and can hopefully be saved and go home to their loved ones at the end of it. They do it so those people having their worst, the County of Newell Fire Service has 121 volunteers, firefighters, and that is ebb and flow. It really does go up and down, but currently we have 121 firefighters with various years of service. And every year, the province of Alberta recognizes some of these individuals. The awards that I'm giving out today are the Alberta Emergency Medal Honors Emergency Service Award. It's presented to people who support emergency prevention, preparedness, and response in Alberta, and who have committed to 12, 22, 32, and 40 years of service. This year, the province has recognized individuals within the County of Newell. I don't know how often this happens, but the 9 individuals being recognized today are or have been in the leadership role within their respective fire departments. All these individuals have a title, or did have a title, of lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, or fire chief. These people are the true leaders of the fire service. Without them, there would not be a fire service within their communities. So at this time, I'd like to recognize these individuals and ask Reeve Dirksen to come down and help present some medals today with some quick closing remarks once we've done that. if that's possible. Yes.
We will do that. Stuart, I'm going to suggest that we have quick introductions. No, that's fine. Let's start over here with Lynette, please.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, which is the Patricia Millicent area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1 Rolling Hills.
Good morning, Adina Scandrip, Division 2, Tilly and area.
Welcome, Holly Johnson, Division 4, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Welcome. Thanks for your service. Matt Pensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you. Arno Dirksen from the GEM area, Division 9.
Good morning, and thanks for coming in. I'm Kelly Chrisman from the west side of the county.
Good morning. I'm Greg Screever from Division 5, Lake New Resort and Cassils area.
Hello, I'm Ellen Unruh, and I am from the Rosemary area, and thanks so much for your service.
Morning, fellows. You are truly awesome. I am Amanda Philpott, Division 8 Duchess.
Neil Johnson, Division 10, and I echo what Amanda just said. Proud of all you guys.
I'm Pat. Is this working? Okay. I'm Patrick Fabian, Tilly Fire and Rescue.
Robin Daniels, Tilly Fire and Rescue.
Kelsey Scrovey, Rolling Hills Fire.
Good morning, Bill Dickinson from Rolling Hills Fire.
Charles Sticker, Rolling Hills Fire.
Matt Bospool, Tilly Fire.
You guys all know me, Ashley Ferguson. You can.
I'm Annette Dickinson, Bill's wife.
Lane Johnson, Director of Corporate Services.
I'll talk for her. That's my wife behind me, Donna Lukes. Well, perfect. Yeah. And Ashley, if you don't mind as well. Okay. So there's a few individuals that couldn't make it today, and one that should hopefully be coming through the door here any second. But the ones that couldn't make it today, for 12 years of service, we recognize from the GEM Fire Department, Captain Colin Reed and Lieutenant Michael Wiebe. And then from the Bow City Fire Department, previous Deputy Fire Chief, Curtis Calvert, who is still a firefighter on that fire department, as well as Deputy Fire Chief Deuce Curry from the Scandia Fire Department, and he actually is a firefighter on the Bow City Fire Department as well. He sits on that border between the two fire departments, so he does both of them. All right. So without any further ado, we have some individuals in front of me here, and for 12 years of service, I'd like to call up from the Rolling Hills Fire Department, Charles Sticker. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
All right.
Just have to wait.
Sounds like it's working now. Good. Next, from the Tilly Fire Department, Deputy Fire Chief Matt Vossable. Congratulations. Come stand between us. Or right there's fine. Right there's fine. Perfect. Thanks. All right. We'll move on to the next one because our third person isn't quite here yet. I've kind of put other captions in here with a fantastic 22 years of service from the Tilly Fire Department, our previous fire chief of 20 years, and still an active firefighter, Patrick Fabian. Congratulations, Pat.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Let's do a picture.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and then finally, with an extraordinary 32 years, we have from the Rolling Hills Fire Department, Chief, I got it all on here, George William, better known as Bill Dickinson. All right. And I just saw him come through the door, so I'm going to get him to just come right up front here. For 12 years of service from the Patricia Fire Hall, Fire Chief Ray Torkelson. Sorry. All right, so there aren't enough words to say how much the fire service, County of Newell, and your community appreciates you. You protect us, you keep us safe, and you put your lives on the line without hesitating and not thinking of the danger that's ahead. As officers and chiefs of your department, you lead by example and you teach us what being a good leader in your community is. You make the County of Newell better for it, and for it, we are genuinely thankful for everything that you do. This job is way more than just putting out fires. It's incredible, and we appreciate you doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. You said it well. And I want to echo those words of appreciation on behalf of all of the ratepayers, all of the residents of our area, the Brooks Newell region. Thank you for what you do. I remember a day when we didn't have the service we have today in each of our communities, and it's much appreciated. And I realize and value the benefit of the volunteer service that you do. That can't be overstated, and we appreciate it very much. And there is one other 22-year service award that we have to give out. And Stuart, if you'd just come back up here, please, that would be most appropriate. Thank you for your 22 years of service to our area and to the province of Alberta. Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all, and the timing is perfect. You're joining us for lunch, I hope, which it's just about 12 o'clock, and we thank you very much for coming in and for your ongoing service, and for the future that we have as new people come on and add to your service. Thank you very much. Oh, there we go. I would entertain a motion that we move in camera. Lynette, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.